Okay, here we are in step 4. In the last step, we found 4 samples, and I placed those throughout my song here. My song's really starting to take some shape. Getting excited about it now. And this tutorial, I'm going to show you a couple of things. We're going to show you how to use audio effects, but before I do that, I want to show you how you can color your cables, change the color of the cables, which is not required. And maybe you just do it for fun, but I think when we start, you'll see when we start doing this step, our cable runs are going to start getting kind of complex, and so keeping track of like which cable goes where and which one it is can be tricky. And so I'm going to go ahead and change this first cable here to a deep sky blue. So I'm just going to click on that, and now that's blue. The next one here, just 2-finger tap on the cord, anywhere on the cord, and it'll bring up this option here. We'll do turquoise on this one. I'll just go down the colors there. Ooh, those are really similar in colors. That might drive me crazy. I'm going to change this one to that. And we'll do chocolate. Sounds good. Okay, so now I can really clearly see like which one is which. And remember also, you can also follow, this one's plugged into 2, so this is 1 and this is 2 right here. So that's that first row, so this is that one. Okay. So we're going to add some effects, and the first thing I want to do actually is I'm going to move these samples up and spread them out just a little bit. And the reason why is I need to make some room to put my effects in here. I'm going to put my effects right here, and so I'm just kind of moving those out of the way right now just so I'll have room for that. So to find your effects, if you go back to devices, and you've probably already noticed down here there's an effects section, and there's quite a bit of colorful, bright, loud looking devices down here. And so I'm not going to show you all of them. I'm just going to show you some that I think will be really helpful for this assignment. You're welcome to experiment and try some out that I don't show, but I will say this. I will say that probably I would recommend that you stay using these top 12. These are the ones that are the most straightforward effects, and I think they're going to be the most useful for you. These next bottom 12 are a little bit more complicated, and I don't know that they'd be super useful for this assignment. So take that for what you will, but I'm going to just show you about 3 or 4 out of this top 12 section just to get you started. So the first one I want to show you is called a delay, and what a delay does is it creates an echo in the sound. So you got to first of all decide which sound do you want to put the echo on, and I think I would like to put the delay or the echo on this kind of short sample that we have right here during the break. So if I look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my 4th track. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's this light tan colored one right here. Alright, so I'm going to grab my delay pedal and I'm going to move it so that it's just right in line with that white cable right there. And some weird things happen when you bring effects on. For one, you can see the cable's kind of moved out of the way to make room for this thing that we put down. The effect itself, just like any device, when you drop it, will just plug itself into the next open channel by default. But that's actually not what you want it to do in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that arrow and just drag it and pull it away. So now it's not plugged into anything, it's just kind of sitting there. What we need to do is, like I said, I want this sound to go into the effects pedal so it's affected by it. So I'm going to click on this little white dot that's right by where it plugged in right here, and you'll see my cable now turns into this blue arrow. I'm going to bring that blue arrow to the arrow on this effect, and you can see it says input there. So my sound now is going into the input, and then from the output I'll click on that arrow and I'm going to bring it back to that channel where this sound was plugged in the first place. And then I like to have my colors be the same again so I can tell where this one is going. Right? Otherwise, if these were both that dark gray color, you might be able to, you might get confused right there. You can see how those colors kind of really help. So let's listen to what this effect does. I'm going to kind of zoom in on it here so we can see what it looks like, and we want to play because it's over this sample right here. I'm going to cue this up right here. Push play. Alright, so did you hear it makes a little echoey kind of sound? So there's 4 knobs that you can mess with. First of all, before I show you these, if you want to turn the effect off, if you just click on anywhere in this big screen area, just like you're going to step on it like it's a guitar effect pedal, you can see that that light turns off. So it's no longer on anymore. If I click on it again, effect turns back on. So there's 4 knobs. We'll start with this one on the right. This is level, so this is going to be how loud your echo is. So if I turn this up, your echo will be a lot louder. So that echo is a lot more pronounced there. F-back stands for feedback. That's how many times does it echo. So if I turn this up, it's going to echo a whole bunch of times. Alright, so that's kind of cool. You can see even when I stop, it's still echoing. So that's quite a bit, and you want to be careful with that because it can get kind of real messy real quick if you have too many echoes going on at the same time. So generally when I bring in an echo, I like to kind of turn it down, maybe keep the feedback and the level kind of tamed. These 2 knobs will affect how quick it echoes after it hears the sound. So if it's all the way on 1, it's going to be really close. Like the sounds are almost right on top of each other. Which is pretty cool. I like the sound of that. If I turn it all the way up to 7, all the way, then there'll be a lot of space between the original sound and the echo. So a lot more space there. And then same with the length. If I crank that from 16 to 8, it's going to be even more space. So I think for this song, I think I'm going to try about 2 and 16 on this one. Cool. And I really like that. And so that effect will affect both times that sound plays. So that's a delay. Let's check out some other ones. Zoom back out so we can see all of them here. Okay, so another cool one that I really like is chorus. So bring chorus on, and let's have chorus maybe affect this first Rhodes sample that we bring in. Again, same thing. You'll bring it in, and it'll just automatically plug itself into the final or the next open track. So I'm going to pull that out. Take my blue cable, that's where the sound is coming from, and plug it in right there. And then I'm going to come from the output of this effect and put it back in that channel that was originally plugged in, and I will change this cable to blue also so that it can follow it. Okay, chorus. If we zoom in, it's got a delay knob and a feedback knob, a lot like this one. The difference is that the chorus puts the 2 sounds together so close that it almost just sounds like one sound that's just really close together. What I like to think of these knobs is kind of like thickening up the sound a little bit, but they're not going to actually create a delayed type of sound. Let's cue this up right here. That's going to affect this track that's right here. So we'll play it. Okay. So it's really kind of like alien and weird sounding because I've got the depth already turned up all the way. I'm going to turn the depth all the way down just so it's not quite so obvious. And let's just listen to what these 2 knobs do. It's kind of subtle, but it just kind of creates like a thickening. What a chorus actually does is it makes a copy of your sound, and it just barely offsets the second one from the first one, depending on where you have these set. And then what these 3 knobs do is kind of bring in this swirly whirly kind of sound on the copy. And so if I turn the depth up, you'll see that it starts to kind of sound like wobbly and drunken almost. If I crank it, then it gets really wobbly. Okay, and then as I turn up, I'm going to turn this down just a little bit because it's going to get crazy. You'll see. As I turn up the speed and the spread, you'll really hear it kind of get wild sounding. Alright, so that can get quite bizarro sounding pretty quick. Again, just like the delay, I usually kind of prefer a more subtle setting. Something like that would be good. So that's a chorus. That's a really cool one. And a couple effects that are like the chorus. but just have their own little characteristic difference. But they kind of also create that swirling kind of sound. Flanger and phaser are another couple really cool ones that do a really similar thing to the chorus that you might want to check out. I'm going to show you one other one that I think is really valuable, and that's a reverb. A reverb is going to kind of add like a spacey kind of echo sound, like you're in a big room. Reverb is short for reverberation, which stands for how sound bounces around in a room. And I think I'm going to do that on these bells. When they come in at the end, I want to kind of make them really sound spacey and cool. So I'm going to bring this effect in. Just again, put it kind of close by this cable run so that I can plug it in right. We'll get rid of that, and then I'm going to take my bell sound and plug it in there. And then I'll come back and put it back in the channel that the bells were in, change my cable color to chocolate. Now that's set up, and let's see what those bells sound like with a little reverb added on them. Oh, I didn't hear the sound. Oh, issue, not hearing a sound. Let's see if we can figure out why. I might have accidentally pushed a button and not meant to. 5, that looks good on the board. It's plugged in. Did I accidentally mute it? I think I did, yep. I accidentally pushed that mute button when I was clicking around. Now we should hear it. Cool, so those bells kind of already sound spacey, but let's mess with some of these knobs to make it sound even more. Room size, so that's like how big of a room you're in. You can imagine like a really big space would be really echoey. Pre-delay, let's turn that up. Let's turn up the damp a little bit, and let's turn up the level about halfway. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh yeah, let's go even bigger on the level. Yeah, that really adds some nice space to it. I like that a lot. Cool. And if you ever put an effect on and you're like, oh, I wonder what that's doing, you can just turn it off real quick just by clicking down here and then see what it sounds like without the effect. And then with. Yeah, that's kind of subtle, but I think that that's just adds a nice little touch to it. A little bit more feedback. Cool. So that's effects. So for this assignment, you need to use at least 3 audio effects. And I do just want to point out right now, like I say, it's starting to look kind of complicated. And we got wires going everywhere, and there's lots of knobs, and there's lots of devices. So I really think it's worth your time to try and make it be clean looking. Like move your devices around so that you can see each cable, and try and avoid having cables crossing over each other or wrapping around devices weird. So you might need to just move some devices around just to kind of make room for everything as you go. The good news is, once you're done with 3 effects, we're not going to add any more to this particular project. So that's the good news. And just to freak you out maybe a little bit, I want to show you this. I don't know if you noticed this before. When you look at the very top of the assignment, this is an actual project in Audiotool that I didn't do, somebody else did, but I had to take a screenshot of it when I saw it, because it was like, what? Look at all these devices. These are all different instruments and effects that someone has just strung together. And the cool thing is, though, is that there's all these different things going on, but everything is very clearly and orderly plugged in. There's not a lot of big mess of cables around. So that just goes to show that you can have a lot of things on the screen in Audiotool and still be still have it make sense, right? So spend some time and try and make it look pretty, make it sound cool. And then there's one more step after this where I'm just going to show you how to kind of wrap things up and then turn it in. So you're almost done, so hang in there.